Being. Okay. What's up, YouTube? You've reached. No, I'm
Thanks, Mel.
Lo. I'm
and I
Lo.
and I'm Emma.
And you've reached
Book
Book
girls
Girls
on
on
the
the
internet.
Internet. Cut. Okay. We're talking about historical fantasy novel today called She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. Pronouns they, them. And yeah, so I think it's a duology, and I finished it maybe like a week ago. Emma 2 days ago. Okay, I'll pitch the brief. What's it about?
Okay.
Um, the story is about a young girl who is destined to nothing, like whereas her brother is destined to greatness. And after a kind of family tragedy, she becomes her brother and joins a monk school. And the story kind of follows her as she tries to make this destiny of greatness, her brother's destiny, reality, but for herself. So it's a story. That's basically like, I want to say, the overarching plot. Okay, before I say my opinions, let's hear it. Emma, what did you think? It was
That's
it
the
was very
shortest.
acclaimed. Yeah, I feel like my summaries are so long. I just want to like keep it brief, like the
Okay.
elevator pitch.
Okay. If I can maybe add a little bit more
Yeah.
to the summary with some spoilers, because we always have spoilers. After she trains to become a monk, while like assuming her brother's identity, um, there's kind of this war going on, and one side of the war burns down. Um, what's it called? The place where the monks are, like
So basically like they're under Mongol rule and
no, what's the name of the thing? Like, you know how there would be like a church or a monastery. They're monastery. That was the word
okay.
I'm looking for. So the one side burns down the monastery. She ends up getting involved on the other side and kind of transforms from this monk to this warrior. And it's the person who's like the lead general for the other side, um, is this eunuch. So there's a really interesting like the gender role stuff throughout the book I thought was very interesting. Um, okay, what did I think of the book? I was expected to be blown away. Like this, I think a lot of people are like, oh, this book is so good, this book is so good. And I hate going in with those expectations because I inevitably don't like it as much as I think I should like it. That being said, I did really like it. I found it engaging. It was never a can't put it down book. Like it did take me quite a bit of time to read, but I liked the storylines. I loved the characters. I thought they were very interesting and layered. Um, I liked the gender stuff that was kind of played with throughout the story. Um, the history aspect without getting too deep into history. Like you can know nothing about like Mongolian history and still very much enjoy and be like engaged with the book. I really like the writing style. Um, I did not know it was a duology, and it ends not on a cliffhanger, but like with more to be told for
Mhm.
sure,
I think
which always frustrates me.
the second book came out relatively recently, I think.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna read that then. Um, I don't get frustrated with duologies. I get frustrated when I don't know ahead of time that it's not a standalone, which is my own fault because I never look at whether it is or not. Um, yeah, overall I liked it, but it didn't like wow me, I would say. What did you
Yes.
think?
So same, like I thought it was really well written. I think for fantasy slash historical fantasy, like I thought the third person narration, like the third person semi first person, like I feel like it jumps between the characters was like refreshing. I liked the narrating style. With that said, like you said, it wasn't a can't put it down. Like I wasn't fully engrossed in the story. I did like the character. I think this is something new that I found out about myself is like I don't love military campaign. Like I thought the military campaign part of it was just kind of like okay. And I don't know if I'm saying that in hindsight, but like I kind of knew that Zoo was gonna succeed. Like I knew that. So I felt like it was a bit predictable. But I thought it was interesting, like the seeing ghosts part. Like I may get around to reading the second book. Maybe not this year, but we'll see. I hope that that would be like further explored. And I think Ouyang, I don't know how to say that, eunuch,
Eunuch?
eunuch, the anyways, the parallel character on the Mongolian side, seems like also he can see ghosts. So yeah, and I also enjoyed like the tension of desire, like between Ouyang and the prince that he was like trying to betray, or like
Essen? Essen?
Essen, yeah.
I literally wrote down, because I'm so bad with names, I wrote down myself a
Oh,
cheat sheet
no,
sticky note.
you're good. You're good. I had gotten a hang of it like by the end of the book, but I finished it like more than a week ago. So but yeah, like I don't know, I felt like there was something that and yeah, I thought the characters were engaging, but I can't say that I love Zoo and I'm totally like rooting for her and stuff, which I think is interesting.
I was almost,
I like her work
yeah,
though.
I was almost rooting for Zoo more at the beginning.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think my internet's crappy and there's a delay. So say what you're gonna say.
No, I was gonna say like I can't tell if Parker Chan wanted us to really like Zoo or not, because yeah, I at the end, like I didn't really care. Like I was just like, okay, I mean, I want to know what happens, but I'm not necessarily like rooting for either side. So, and maybe that's an artistic choice, but I do like Zoo's wife, Ma. I think her name is
Ma?
Ma Lee or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, the second book is called He Who Drowned the World. So I wonder
Interesting.
if that will focus more on Ouyang, or Zhu will no longer go by her. Because yeah. Um but you know what? It was new. It definitely felt new. But yeah, there was something, it was not Holy Grail.
No, it was definitely not Holy Grail. I think you made me think of a few more things. One, the fantasy element was so light. Like it was
Yes.
such a light touch, which is so interesting. Like I almost would forget that it's fantasy and forget that like um
Yes.
Zoo could see ghosts. And I was like, oh right, I forgot. This is fantasy. And then they're like talking about conjuring the flame in their hand. I was like, oh right, this is fantasy.
Yeah.
Because it does read like a historical fiction.
Yeah.
I think I found Zeus so much more like I wanted to root for her more at the beginning, and at the by the end, which I do think, to your point, I do think was a very artistic choice by the author, um, to make them less of a kind of typically likable
Mm-hmm.
character and almost to have them shift to be more like Ouyang, because we see Ouyang being really calculating and like
Mm-hmm.
this precisionary like general military guy, and by the end you've got zooming like I'm killing the Prince of Radiance in
Mm-hmm.
such a like
I know.
almost casual way.
That I didn't see it coming. And I was like,
No.
holy shit. And then they at the end they all praise Zoo. And I'm like, how did she like, I mean, what a trajectory, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was definitely, that was the unpredictable part. I knew she was gonna be great, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I also really like the like Zoo's best friend, the other monk, who also didn't have like a traditional like just he is good kind of
His
role.
name
Like he
is
was this monk and
Suda.
then
Yeah.
yeah.
I
I'm
love
gonna turn
him.
my light on. Yeah, he was great. Sorry, I'm turning that might help.
In the acknowledgement, the author thanks one of their friends for coming up with Suda and not making the men in the story all evil.
I
And
saw that. I read that.
it's so funny because I think if I had to pick one character that I love the most, like it is Suda, because I like Ma, she's interesting, but like I feel like she's still very covered and very subdued. Like maybe she's gonna become more fierce. I truly hope her name is Ma because this
Her
record.
name is Ma. I have it on my sticky note.
Okay.
I think she is going to become more fierce because her trajectory is almost the opposite. Like when she started, first I'm like, oh, she's obsessed with that other guy who died by being ripped apart by horses. Also, we just like some of the scenes were like casually brutal. Like it didn't dwell in the brutality, but it was brutal.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, she's like, all she cares about is, well, not all, but a large part of her focus is this guy. And maybe I wasn't like paying enough attention. I don't know. I didn't necessarily fully understand why her devotion to him was so great. But then after he dies and she starts to kind of develop this closer relationship with Zoo, and then they end up getting married, like it's almost like as Zoo gets not more evil, because I wouldn't categorize her as
Hmm.
evil, but more complex, let's say, in a maybe more negative way. It's almost like Ma's doing the other in a positive way, where she's
Hmm.
like almost this voice of reason and this
Hmm.
goodness shining through.
Yeah. Um, yeah. But it was a good book. I'm happy
It
I
was
read
a good
it.
book.
Um, but I think I don't have much to add. And I can't tell if it's book girl approved. I don't think so. Sorry.
I think if you like that genre,
Yeah.
then definitely. But I wouldn't say for an average reader, like if you're like, oh, I want to dabble in the historical fantasy fiction,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Maybe this is not the one to start with.
Yeah. Um, having read, because I'm still planning to read The Poppy War, you having read it, do you think it was similar at all?
I read the Poppy War a very, very long
If you
time
can
ago.
remember.
No. I want to say no.
Okay.
Because
Uh,
I remember really liking the Poppy War.
okay. Yeah, I got the box set, so I better enjoy it.
Yeah, I read that 2 years ago, so not a single thought remains.
Uh, okay. Should we move on to our next section?
Yes, look at you remembering it. I'm so proud of you.
I'm gonna give two because it's kind of funny because it's literally the two books that I finished after She Who Became the Sun. Um, so the first one I'm going to talk about is She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb. It was published in 1992. And really quickly, it's about Dolores. It's a third person narrator. No, it's first person narrator. And it's basically a coming of age novel.
I read this in January.
Really?
I was like, that sounds so familiar. I literally read it,
That's
yeah, like
so funny.
last month. Wow, what are the odds? Okay, sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No, yeah, so I first read this book when I was 13 and it's just this character had stayed with me like for all these years and it's like one of those where it's like you remember the song and you're just like, wow, that song was so good, but you don't remember it in detail. So I reread it and I revisited it and then I mean it's a great book. Like I mean I love coming of age. And you just follow really Dolores through her trials and tribulation and growing up and figuring things out. And um, I like the book came out in 1992, and yes, like in this day and age, like there are some parts where it's just kind of like, oh, like I don't know if this would get published nowadays, but it's a good book. It was well written, and yeah, okay, he's a white guy and he wrote about a fat girl, and it's like it rubs against a few modern sensibilities, but oh, so touching and like I don't know, it's such a great takeaway. So that's like my 5 stars lately, and also another one I read a memoir, How to Say Babylon. It came out last year. Um, all I'm gonna say is it's very similar to Educated by Tara Westover, and it's great. So those are my two that I loved lately.
Those are good ones. I am also gonna pick two because you picked two.
Yay.
Um, so one is A Dream of a Woman
Okay.
by Casey, I'm not sure, Plett. Um, and it's a collection of fictional essays. Some of them are tied together, some of them are standalone. The author is a trans woman, and the stories are centered around trans women experiences. And it is beautiful. Like, it was just a beautiful book to read. And
I love
if,
the cover, can I just say?
yeah, yeah, I liked it a lot. I mean, I've read some trans memoirs, which are incredible, and there's something I think about trans, like, fiction, and I don't mean fiction written by a trans person, I mean fiction where the stories center around
Mhm.
trans stories. Just help, like, understand. I don't want to use the word normalize because it feels like it's not abnormal. Help people understand different experiences that can be different from their own in a
Mhm.
way that you're like, okay, you take this little nugget from this story and this little one from the other one. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. It was beautifully written and I would highly recommend.
Wait, can I insert
The
something about that? So
Yeah,
just to speak to like fiction and like I want to say like growing like interpersonal compassion, like I feel like Jordan Peele has done that a lot with his style of horror, of like putting race as like a center theme of his horror and like so that people can kind of absorb a little bit more about the Black experience like through the screen. I think speaks also to how you say like um I guess fiction interacts our understanding of trans lives as cis women. So yeah, I think it's
yeah, I think that's a really good parallel. I
um
agree.
I added it to my list. It sounds amazing.
Nice. It's also not like crazy long, like it's under 300 pages, so
Mhm.
it's easy to kind of zip through. The second one, which I think was my first 5-star of the year.
Oh,
I know. My only comments that I wrote were this book blew me away. It's called Chain Gang All Stars.
it's on my list.
Girl, read it. It's so good. So the author is Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. Um, and he's written this book. It's set in the future, but like a modern future that's basically if the American prison system became really gross in terms of violence and capitalism.
Okay.
Um, so it's fully fiction, obviously, but it's got these like beautiful, not beautiful, but like really illuminating, I guess, or it can be a reminder for information you already know, but footnotes throughout the whole book, which tie things to history, like true history bits. So
Well, that's
like
really
they'll
cool.
reference this and then he'll be like, this was the case, this was the year, whatever. So it's like it's fiction, but it's so well interwoven with all the stuff. Anyways, it was so good. Like it was just amazing. Everyone should read this book. It's
Period. I
great.
love when authors are very generous with footnotes.
Me
Is it
too.
there was there's a book we reviewed on this channel that we also like really appreciated the use of footnotes. I don't remember, but okay, that's really motivating because it was totally and I am also planning to push it in my other book club that I'm part of. Um, but I might just have to read it solo because
Highly recommend. I
it's
don't remember why I picked it up, but
it was
it was
part of the
it's
Goodreads newsletter a few months ago, so that may be why. I don't know if you
I don't
opened
get the
those.
Goodreads newsletter.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I don't know. Someone I must have seen it somewhere because it was on my to read list.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be better at writing down how books get added to my to read list, but that's a work in progress. But
I
it
love the
was
ambition.
there's a lot on there. It's like from Lori.
Um,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked our video,
Please
please
subscribe.
subscribe.